Hey everybody, welcome back to another Mythic Mobs guide. Today I'm going to show you how to light up torches in a fire-like animation. This is actually fairly simple even though it looks complicated. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into it. I'm not going to do the whole typing every little thing out for you, but I will show you how to get to it. So first off, we're going to start with how many mobs you're going to need. First, you're going to need 3 mobs. Your Fire Dummy, which is your main one, which was the ball shape, main Fire Dummy 1, and main Fire Dummy 2. Of course, you're welcome to call them whatever you want, but this is just what I happen to call them for the sake of this tutorial. Now, they're all going to have very similar attributes. You're going to make sure to copy out from at least here all the way up. And if you need to take a moment, go ahead and pause the video right here. But the main things you want to worry about: prevent other drops, invincible, despawn, and invisible. You're going to want to put these on every single one of them. I recommend making sure invisible is actually set to false when you're starting, so that way you can see and make sure it lines up correctly. So after we got that going, here I just have little animation particles set. These are what made that little ball shape at the beginning. You don't need these, you can do whatever you want. Again, you're welcome to pause the video at any time if you just so wish to recreate every little detail. I started off, I made particle spheres with flames with altering radiuses, 1, 0.75, and 5, or 0.5, different amounts. And always start with Y 0.5. It's very important because that's the center of every mob, and you know, you don't want your ball looking like it's just sitting in the ground, and you also don't want it too high in the air. Conveniently, most mobs and everything in Minecraft is about the same size, so always set it to 0.5 if you're going for a kind of levitating effect. Now with your dummies, let's just go ahead and jump into them. Actually, no, let's not yet. First, you're going to want to make your first skill. I named mine Torch for, you know, obviously, because that's what it's going to do to itself, as well as light up the other ones. So go ahead and put skill, Torch, at self. I like doing on timer 10. You can do it whatever you want. I set it to 10 because I like having the player detection being fairly quick. You'll see why later. Next, your dummies. They're going to be exactly the same. However, if you do a 2-column room like I did, you're going to want a skill. You can call it left side if you want, and right side. That's what I did, obviously. Make sure to set it to use that skill on themselves when they spawn. Very, very important. As a matter of fact, once you get those skills out of the way and everything typed out here, you're actually done with the mob section. Pretty easy. Next comes the skills, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to get this set up. So first is going to be your torch skill, which is the one that we set up for the main fire dummy. You're going to want to set a condition here if you want it to be where players walk up to it when it does its ability. You don't have to, but if you do like I did, you're going to want to add the player within distance of 6 true. Make sure to add the true, because otherwise, even if you have the rest of this here, it will not fire. So make sure you always have true. Next, we're going to have some summon skills. Summon Fire Dummy 1 and 2 at itself. Really easy so far. Next, you're going to want to add a 5-second delay or less, or a little bit more, as long as this delay is less than... Where'd it go? There it is. Okay. So as long as this delay is shorter than this timer. It's very important, because if you have a delay set to 20 and that timer is going off at 10 ticks per second, then that means the skill will end up firing twice, which would not be good, because, well, you don't want 2 of these guys in each, 2 left, 2 right. That just, ugh. So definitely make sure to make sure this is less than your timer, because it will, as you can see here, remove itself after its first use, disabling this timer from making it spawn another 2. Now, you're going to want to make a second skill after the delay of 5 called Torch Flame, or whatever you so wish to call it. This is going to be the part of the torches that actually catch fire. Very important, because, you know, you're trying to light up a dungeon, a room, whatever it is. It's entirely, you know, your choice. You're going to want to make it do a missile here. On tick, torch flame tick, which is what I called it. You don't need, most missiles and projectiles have an OH or on hit thing, but you do not need it for this one because you actually don't want your particles to be hitting anything at all. Velocity is something you're going to want to mess with on your own. That's how fast the missile actually, you know, shoots off towards a different area. That's just something you're going to have to mess with as far as timing goes between lighting each torch. Next is the I for inertia. It can't take 0 as far as I know, so you want to set it to 1, which means it can turn instantly, like a snap of a finger. Because if it's set higher than 1, then chances are it'll fly so fast it'll miss the torch and then have to rebound a few times before it finally settles itself in the center. That would entirely ruin the effect that you're going for, so I highly recommend just setting it to 1. Your radiuses, these don't matter because they're not going to hit anything. That's all these are, is just saying that they're going to hit something. I can't honestly say. I'm pretty sure this is inertia again. Why I have it on there twice is strange. But yeah, you only need the I equals 1. This SE is stop at entity. Make sure to turn that off because we don't want to add markers to our armor stands because that would make them untargetable. And that would also ruin the effect because, well, your missile wouldn't actually go anywhere. So make sure SE is set to false. And then SB for stop at block. Make sure that is set to false too. For whatever reason, you have an armor stand teleport high and low. You don't want it to hit a block that might be in the way. Like as you can see, my little torches over here have little stair corners. If I were to have it go down, if that were set to true, it would probably hit that stair and then just stop right there. So make sure SB is set to false. Hit non-players. Make sure that's set to false as well. There is a possibility that something could run in the way of it, even though it's not targeted. It could still cause the projectile to stop. So make sure that's set to false as well. Here you're going to have max range. I like setting it to something really, really high, like 800 blocks, for example, so that way you can make it go as far as you want. It's very, very awesome, because it took me a lot of tests with this to realize I can turn it up as high as I want. I could turn it up to 9,999 if I want to, and it really won't matter, and I will tell you why in a minute. Same with, oh, and this is hit target, my bad. Make sure that is set to false because your armor stands are targeted, and you most definitely do not want them to stop upon reaching their location. Max distance is kind of the same concept as max range, or sorry, this is max duration. Depending on how long your animation is going to last, I would just go ahead and turn it up really, really high. As you can see, I have it set to 12,000 here because that was just a random number. Doesn't really matter. Just make sure it lasts long enough to make it to each individual point that you want to light up. Last is the targeter here. You're going to want to do at mobs and radius. It's very important you do mobs and not entities, because from what I've found, if you do entities, even if you have types listed, it will still target any kind of anything in the radius, whether it be other mobs, animals, players, doesn't matter. I don't know why it is that way, but it seems to be that way. So make sure to do MIR for mobs and radius. Now here we have Fire Dummy 1 and Fire Dummy 2. I went ahead and did it for radius 30 because here you can see this is where the Fire Dummy starts. And the first fire dummies start off at the first torches, which is within a 30 block radius. But I like going kind of high with it just to make sure, sorry about that, just to make sure it reaches properly. Very, very, very important for that. So after you have that set up, you're going to want to do the tick. This is basically, this is the fire particles itself. It's not like a huge deal. You can make it be whatever you want. Cloud, red dust, crit, magic, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. This is my personal preference for those medium-sized fire blasts. You can feel free to copy this if you want. We're going to go ahead and get started with the last part of the skill set. Here you're going to want to have teleport locations as well as the sound and the block mask effect. So we're going to start off with the teleports, and I will show you how to get this. So this is my left side one. So what I'm going to do right now, and if you're wondering why I have all these numbers on my screen, I pressed F3 and it caused this to come up. I don't know if it's an Optifine exclusive, it shouldn't be, but we're just going to use this XYZ up here right above the block. So we're going to go ahead and fly up here. Let me get this out of the way. Actually, no, let me put that there. And we're going to go right here. As you can see, it's roughly 598.5. 0.5 will center it exactly on the block. So we're going to type in 598.5 or whatever your coordinates happen to be, comma 9, comma negative 268.5. Just hold shift and left arrow. Then just go ahead and copy it, Control C. I realized I made a mistake here. I accidentally typed in 0.9 instead of just 9. That will cause errors later. So go ahead and, like I said, if you haven't already, copy it. Go into your skill command. Your first teleport to is going to be that number right there. So go ahead and paste it in like I already have done here. And you're going to want to set a delay. This delay is going to coincide with your velocity here. So however fast you want it to go, that's just something you're going to have to mess with on your own. Like I told you before though, velocity is how fast the projectile goes. The delay here is going to be between the torches. Every single delay that you see is going to be jumping from one torch to another. So this is jumping from its spawn point, which was down there, to this torch right here. Once you do that, you're going to go ahead and add a sound. My personal favorite, entity.gas.shoot. I turned up, or I added a volume option for the sake of how close a player might be when it actually activates. I set it to 2 because that's the max volume that you can do, and it doesn't mean it's going to make it stupidly loud. It just means it's going to multiply the distance that it can be heard by 2. And then block mask. This is what the actual fire is. So you're going to type in effect, colon, block mask, mask equals fire, radius, make sure to set that to 0. And if you don't want to, if you want to set it up depending on your design, if you had a nether rack up here, you could move the coordinate up 1 and then set the radius to 1, or you can just keep it like how I have it. Much easier in my opinion. Keep radius at 0. Make sure OA is set to true. This means only air. So if it were set to 1, for example, all of these stone stairs would get turned to fire, and so would the block itself, which means the fire would be right here instead of right here. After that, you're going to make it teleport to its next thing. We're going to call these phases. So each set of 3 skills here is going to be a phase. So you're going to make sure you have teleport to its next location set directly after block mask. You don't want to do it at the start of the next phase, because if it is, it won't properly mask the netherrack that you have it to mask. Very important you put teleport to last in the chains. So once you have all that set up, you're going to have to go and get your coordinates for any other torch or whatever else you plan to use as well. But once you have all that set up, it should look exactly like this. So thank you guys so much for watching today. If there's anything else that you would like to see a tutorial of, or you have any kind of cool ideas, please feel free to message me. I will make videos of these things for you guys if you're confused about any sort of mechanic. Whatever it is, just let me know. Leave it down in the comments. Message me on Discord. I'll leave my Discord username and number down there. And if you did like this, please make sure to subscribe as well, because I will be making a lot more mechanics for a lot of you guys, because as I like to discover new things, I like to share it with you all, because it just, you know, I like to see people's imaginations just take off like my own did. So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you very much for watching.